Let me share with you exactly what happens during these 3 days of transformed self-talk. The first day is often the most challenging, for you are going against every evidence of your senses. Your physical reality will still show you the old conditions, and your habitual self-talk will attempt to reassert itself. This is where most people fail. They allow what they see to dictate what they say to themselves. But I tell you this, your current circumstances are nothing more than your previous self-talk made visible. In the book of Hebrews it is written, "Through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear." Your self-talk is this very word of God that frames your world. Let me share with you the experience of a man who came to me seeking to transform his professional life. He had been stuck in a low-paid position for years, and his self-talk reflected this. I'm not qualified enough. Better opportunities are for others. I instructed him in this 3-day technique of self-talk. I instructed him in this 3-day technique of self-talk. For the first day, he was to speak to himself in a very specific way, not just arbitrary positive statements, but precise words that implied his desire was already fulfilled. When he looked in the mirror while dressing for work, instead of his habitual self-talk about another dreary day, he would say, "I love being executive vice president. My decisions create tremendous value for the company. My leadership inspires others." Throughout that first day, whenever his mind wandered to his current circumstances, he would gently bring it back by speaking to himself from the end. "I'm so grateful for my executive position. I handle these responsibilities with such ease. My contributions are highly valued and generously rewarded." The second day brings a subtle shift. Your new self-talk begins to feel more natural, less forced. This is a crucial point where many lose their way, thinking the technique isn't working because it's becoming effortless. But this very naturalness is the signal that your new self-talk is taking root in consciousness. During the second day, your self-talk should focus not just on statements of fact, but on the natural conversations you would have with yourself from your desired state. If you're manifesting perfect health, you don't need to constantly affirm, "I am healthy." Instead, your self-talk might be, "I love how easily I climb these stairs. This fresh energy feels wonderful. I enjoy choosing nutritious foods for my vibrant body." I recall a woman who was manifesting her ideal marriage. During her second date, she didn't just affirm, "I am happily married." Her self-talk became the natural internal dialogue of a beloved wife. "I love preparing our favorite dinner. Our evening walks together are so completely. It's wonderful sharing my life with someone who understands me so completely." The third day is where the magic truly unfolds, but it's also where many stumble because they are looking for external results. Remember, in the book of Genesis, God did not pause after each day of creation to check if it was working. The work was done in consciousness through the Word, and the manifestation followed naturally. On this third day, your self-talk must be maintained with complete indifference to external circumstances. If you're manifesting financial abundance and you check your bank account to find it unchanged, your self-talk must remain steady. I love how money flows to me from expected and unexpected sources. I enjoy choosing the finest things in life. It's wonderful having more than enough to share generously. Let me reveal to you something profound about these 3 days. They correspond to 3 states of consciousness: initiation, transition, and acceptance. Your self-talk must reflect and support each state. The first day initiates the new concept. The second day bridges the new state. A businessman once asked me why his previous attempts at positive self-talk had failed. Upon examination, I discovered he was changing his words, but not his state of consciousness. He would say, "I am successful," while internally arguing with the statement. I taught him that true self-talk isn't about the words alone. It's about speaking from the consciousness of already being what you desire to be. Now, let me share with you the exact structure of self-talk that creates the most rapid transformation during these 3 days. Many attempt to change their lives through haphazard positive statements, but there is a specific pattern, a divine order to effective self-talk that most never discover. This pattern is revealed in Scripture, where it states, "Let there be, and there was, and God saw that it was good." This is your template for powerful self-talk during these 3 days. First, you declare what is to be. Then you acknowledge it as already existing. Finally, you express gratitude for its perfection. I want to give you a living example. A young doctor came to me, frustrated with his practice. His self-talk was filled with anxiety about patients, concerns about income, and doubts about his abilities. For 3 days, I instructed him to transform his self-talk following this divine pattern. Upon waking the first morning, his self-talk began, "My practice is thriving. Patients seek me out for my exceptional care. I am known for my remarkable results." Throughout the day, whenever his old patterns of anxious self-talk attempted to surface, he would immediately shift to, "I love how smoothly my practice runs. Every patient interaction is satisfying and successful. My expertise brings healing to all who come to me." But here's the crucial point about your self-talk during these 3 days. It must be specific to your own desires and natural to your own way of speaking. Don't copy another's words. Your self-talk must feel like you, must flow naturally from your own consciousness, must be in your own voice. In the Psalms, it is written, "Deep calleth unto deep." Your self-talk must come from the depths of your being, not from the surface of your mind. When you speak to yourself during these 3 days, let the words rise from the consciousness of already being what you desire to be. Consider a teacher who came to me desiring to become a successful author. Her self-talk had been filled with doubt. Who would read my book? I'm not a real writer. I'll never finish this manuscript. I showed her how to structure her self-talk for the 3-day transformation. Instead of general affirmations about being a successful author, her self-talk became specific and natural. I love how readers connect with my stories. It's wonderful seeing my books in major bookstores. I enjoy signing copies for my devoted readers. These weren't just positive statements. They were the natural thoughts and words of someone already living her desired reality. Here's another vital aspect of the 3-day transformation that few understand. Your self-talk must encompass all 3 time frames, morning, day, and night, but in a specific way. Your morning self-talk sets the tone for the day and must be done before engaging with the world. Your daytime self-talk maintains the state. Your nighttime self-talk maintains the subconscious mind for manifestation. Let me share with you the exact method for nighttime self-talk that produces the most powerful results. As you prepare for sleep, your self-talk should take the form of grateful reflection. What a wonderful day in my thriving practice. I love how easily everything flows. Tomorrow brings even more opportunities to serve and succeed. This nighttime pattern of self-talk is crucial because it's your last conscious impression before entering the sleep state. In scripture, it says, in a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falleth upon men, in slumberings upon the bed, then he openeth the ears of men, and sealeth their instruction. Your nighttime self-talk is this very instruction being sealed in consciousness. A businessman who mastered this technique shared with me his experience. For 3 days, he maintained the most rigorous attention to his self-talk, especially during the drowsy state before sleep. His inner dialogue was consistently from the state of already being a successful entrepreneur. My business generates tremendous value. I love leading my team to greater achievements. Every decision I make creates positive results. By the 3rd morning, before any physical evidence appeared, he knew with absolute certainty that his world had shifted. His self-talk had transformed from effort to natural expression of his new state. When opportunities suddenly appeared that transformed his business, he recognized them as the inevitable manifestation of his 3 days of transformed self-talk. But here's something crucial about the 3-day transformation that most miss. You must maintain your new self-talk, even when circumstances seem to contradict it. In fact, contrary circumstances often appear during these 3 days as a test of your resolve. This is where most people falter, allowing external evidence to destruct their self-talk. Your self-talk must not only change in content, but in consciousness. The words themselves are merely the surface. It's the state from which they emanate that holds the true creative power. In the book of Matthew, it states, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. Your self-talk during these 3 days must flow from the heart, the consciousness of your wish fulfilled. This is why mechanical repetition of positive phrases fails to produce results. The words must be spoken from the consciousness of already being what you desire to be. I knew a woman who struggled with this principle until she grasped its essence. She desired to be a successful artist, but had never sold a painting. Her initial attempt at self-talk was mechanical. I am a successful artist. My paintings sell easily. But there was no transformation because she was speaking from her current state of lack. I taught her to first assume the consciousness of a successful artist, then let her self-talk flow naturally from that state. Her internal dialogue transformed. I love how collectors respond to my work. It's wonderful having my paintings in prestigious galleries. I enjoy deciding which exhibitions to participate in next. During these 3 days, your self-talk must reflect 3 levels of consciousness: being, having, and experiencing. Most people focus only on having, which is why their manifestations are temporary or never appear. Your self-talk must encompass all 3. Let me illustrate this principle. A man came to me desiring financial abundance. His self-talk had been focused entirely on having money. I have unlimited wealth. I showed him how to structure his self-talk to include all 3 levels. Being, I am financially wise. I am a masterful creator of wealth. Having, I have abundant resources. I have multiple streams of income. Experiencing, I love choosing the finest experiences in life. I enjoy sharing my abundance generously. This 3-level self-talk must be maintained consistently throughout the 3 days. Upon waking, your first thoughts should naturally flow from this expanded consciousness. Throughout the day, your internal dialogue should reflect all 3 levels. Before sleep, your final thoughts should encompass this complete state. Here's another crucial aspect of the 3-day transformation. Your self-talk must be in harmony with the law of assumption. In Scripture, it states, all things whatsoever ye pray and ask for, believe that ye have received them, and ye shall have them. Your self-talk must come from the consciousness of already having received. Consider a man who wanted to transform his relationships. His habitual self-talk had been, I am always alone. Nobody understands me. I'll never find true love. For 3 days, I instructed him to speak from the consciousness of already being in perfect relationships. I love how easily I connect with others. Every interaction enriches my life. My relationships are deep and meaningful. I attract exactly the right people into my life. My presence brings joy to others. I am surrounded by love and understanding. But here's the vital point. These words weren't chosen randomly. They flowed naturally from his assumed state of being someone who enjoys wonderful relationships. This is why your self-talk during these 3 days cannot be scripted by another. It must be the natural expression of your assumed state. Let me share with you the exact pattern of self-talk for each of the 3 days. The first day, Your self-talk establishes the new state. I am now the person I desire to be. The second day, your self-talk normalizes this state. This is my natural way of being. The third day, your self-talk expresses gratitude for the state. How wonderful to be living this reality. A woman who applied this pattern to transform her health shared her experience with me. Her first day's self-talk established her new state. I am radiantly healthy. Every cell in my body vibrates with vitality. Perfect health is my natural state. Her second day normalized this state. I love how easily I maintain perfect balance. When I feel exhausted, I refuse. I feel grateful to God. I feel grateful to God. My body knows exactly how to maintain perfect balance. I feel grateful to God. I state. She transformed her body ever since then. I doubtful myself as a professional, but I'm mentally On the third day, her self-talk expressed gratitude for her state. I'm so grateful for my perfect health. It's wonderful having this abundant energy. I appreciate how my body maintains perfect wellness effortlessly. By the end of the third day, she no longer needed to monitor her self-talk. It flowed naturally from her new state of consciousness. Now let me reveal to you the culminating secret of this 3-day transformation through self-talk. The completion of these 3 days is not marked by external changes, but by an internal shift so profound that you no longer need to monitor your self-talk, because it naturally flows from your new state of consciousness. In Ecclesiastes, it is written, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. These 3 days represent the season of transformation, but they must be followed by something most people neglect, the Sabbath of rest. After 3 days of conscious self-talk, you must rest in the conviction that the work is done. A remarkable example of this principle was demonstrated by a man who had struggled with poverty consciousness for decades. For 3 days, he maintained the most exquisite attention to his self-talk. Every word that passed through his mind reflected the consciousness of wealth. I am the embodiment of abundance. I live in the endless stream of prosperity. By the end of the third day, something profound had shifted. He no longer needed to remind himself to speak from wealth consciousness. It had become his natural state. His self-talk flowed effortlessly from this new consciousness. Which of my investments shall I explore today? How can I best utilize these abundant resources? What wonderful opportunities shall I explore next? This is the true test of successful transformation, when your self-talk no longer requires effort or monitoring, because it naturally reflects your new state of consciousness. Just as you don't need to remind yourself to speak as who you are now, your new self-talk becomes the natural expression of who you have become. Let me share with you the final key to maintaining this transformation beyond the 3 days. Your self-talk must now become what I call your natural assumption. When you pick up a telephone, you naturally assume it will work. When you sit in a chair, you naturally assume it will hold you. Your new state must be maintained with this same natural assumption. Consider carefully what I tell you now. After these 3 days, if you find yourself slipping back into old patterns of self-talk, do not fight them. Instead, gently remind yourself, that was the old man speaking. I have crossed the bridge to my new state. Then resume your natural self-talk from your desired state. Remember the words in Scripture. Put off the old man with his deeds and put on the new man. Your transformed self-talk is the language of this new man. It is not something you do. It is something you become. The 3 days are merely the gestation period for this new birth. Let me conclude with this vital truth. Your self-talk is not just words. It is the very substance of your world taking form. Every word you speak to yourself is a seed planted in the fertile soil of consciousness. These 3 days of transformed self-talk are your concentrated period of planting, but the harvest will continue indefinitely if you maintain the state. The power to transform your entire life lies in your self-talk, but not in the superficial way most people understand. It is not about forcing positive thoughts or fighting negative ones. It is about speaking from the consciousness of already being who you desire to be. 3 days of consistent, conscious self-talk from this new state will transform your world. I leave you with this challenge. Begin your 3 days now. Not tomorrow, not when circumstances are better, but now. Speak to yourself from the consciousness of your wish fulfilled. Maintain this new self-talk for 3 consecutive days. Watch as your world transformed to match your words. For it is written, death and life are in the power of the tongue. Your self-talk is this very power. Use it wisely, use it consistently, and use it now. The next 3 days can transform your entire life, if you will but speak to yourself from the consciousness of already being who you desire to be. The choice is yours, and the time is now. Your 3 days of transformation await. Begin this very moment to speak to yourself as the person you desire to be, and watch as your world reshapes itself to match your words. For this is the law, and this is the promise, and this is the power that has been given to you. Use it, prove it, and live it. The word is in your mouth and in your heart, ready to be spoken. Speak it now. Speak it with conviction, and speak it from the consciousness of fulfillment. Your 3-day journey to transformation begins with the very next words you speak to yourself. Make them count. Make them powerful. And make them the truth you desire to experience.
Let's begin with this profound truth. The world you see before you is nothing more than the outward picture of your inner assumptions. Every doubt you harbor, every limitation you accept is but a shadow cast by your own consciousness. Tonight I want to share with you the most transformative principle that has ever been revealed to man. The principle that your consciousness is the one and only reality. When you truly grasp this, you will understand why doubting yourself is the greatest sin against your divine nature. Let me tell you something extraordinary about your desires. The very fact that you can conceive a desire means you possess the capacity to achieve it. For desire is nothing but your destiny seeking expression through you. It's God's promise, awaiting your acceptance. You see, most of you sit here tonight harboring doubts about your abilities, your worth, your potential. But I tell you this, these doubts are merely images you have accepted as facts. They are no more real than the shadows on a wall. The only power they possess is the power you have given them through your acceptance. Consider for a moment what you really want in life. Feel it deeply. Now understand this. That desire did not originate from you as a mere mortal being. That desire is God Himself knocking at the door of your consciousness, seeking expression through. But here's where most of you failed. You treat your desires as something external to be achieved, rather than an already existing reality to be assumed. You say, I want to be successful, but continue to wear the garment of doubt and limitation. Let me share with you a profound secret about manifestation. The secret lies not in the doing, but in the assumption. What you desire is already yours in what I call the fourth dimensional world, the world of consciousness. Your task is not to make it happen, but to assume the feeling of its accomplishment. You see, when you doubt yourself, you are actually denying your own divine nature. You are saying to the God within, I do not believe in your power expressing through me. Can you see the magnitude of this error? Every time you entertain a doubt, you are choosing to live in a state of consciousness that contradicts your desires. It's like planting seeds while simultaneously believing they won't grow. Your doubt negates your prayer. Let me tell you about the law that governs all manifestation. Consciousness is the only reality. Whatever you consciousness to be true, whatever state you occupy in consciousness, must objectify itself in your world. This is not theory. This is law. Most of you have been taught to combat doubt with positive thinking. But I tell you this, positive thinking is not enough. You must move beyond thinking to knowing. You must assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. You see, the universe responds not to your words or your actions, but to your assumptions. When you truly assume a state, you need not concern yourself with the how. The how will be taken care of by powers and wisdom far greater than your mortal mind can conceive. Let me share with you the true meaning of faith. Faith is not believing that something will happen. Faith is assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled before any evidence appears in the external world. That is the faith that moves mountains. Consider for a moment, when you go to sleep at night, do you doubt that the sun will rise tomorrow? No, you rest in complete assurance of this fact. This is how you must treat your desires. Your doubts are merely habits of consciousness that can be replaced with absolute knowing. I tell you this, the feeling of the wish fulfilled is the secret of creation. When you assume the feeling of being what you want to be, you're actually entering into the state of consciousness that will externalize that desire. This is the ancient meaning of ye shall decree a thing, and it shall be established unto you. You see, most of you are waiting for something external to give you permission to be what you desire to be. But I tell you with absolute certainty, the only permission you need is your own assumption. The only authority is just your own I am. Let me share with you a profound truth about your I am. Your I am is God Himself individualized in you. When you say I am, you are proclaiming the name of God. Therefore, whatever you attach to your I am, you are creating as reality. But here is where most of you falter. You say I am, and then attach to it all your limitations, all your doubts, all your past failures. I am not good enough. I am not ready. I am not worthy. Do you not see that you are using the creative power of the universe to create what you do not want? Tonight, I urge you to make a fundamental shift in your consciousness. Instead of saying, I want or I hope or I will, begin to assume I am. For in that assumption lies all the power of creation. You see, the difference between success and failure lies not in external circumstances, but in this simple shift of consciousness. The successful person is not one who has no doubts, but one who has learned to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled despite apparent contradictions. Let me tell you about the law of assumption. When you assume a state, the whole world must reshape itself to accommodate your assumption. This is not positive thinking. This is cosmic law. Most of you have been taught to look at the world and then form your conclusions. But I tell you this, reverse the process. Form your assumption first, and the world will reshape itself to match your assumption. Consider this. Every great achievement in human history began with someone assuming a state that contradicted external evidence. They dared to assume what others called impossible. You see, your outer world is nothing more than your inner world pushed out. Every doubt you entertain, every limitation you accept, must externalize itself in your experience. This is law. Let me share with you the secret of eliminating doubt. You do not fight doubt. You simply assume a new state. When you occupy a new state in consciousness, the old state of doubt must die of neglect. You must understand this. Your consciousness is the only reality. Therefore, what you are conscious of being, you must become. This is why doubting yourself is such a grievous error. You are literally assuming a state of limitation. I want you to grasp this fundamental truth. The state of consciousness from which you operate is everything. When you doubt yourself, you are viewing life from a state of consciousness that must, by law, produce evidence of its own reality. You see, most of you are trying to change your lives while remaining in the same state of consciousness. This is like trying to produce apples while planting orange seeds. It is against law. Let me tell you about the true meaning of state. A state is not a fleeting thought or emotion. It is the consciousness from which you view the world. When you enter a state, you see only what that state dictates you must see. Consider this profound truth. Your present circumstances are nothing more than your previous states of consciousness objectified. Therefore, to change your future, you must change your state now. Most of you say, when my circumstances change, I will feel different. But I tell you this, you must feel different first. And then your circumstances will change to match your new feeling. You see, what you call reality is merely a shadow, a reflection of your state of consciousness. When you doubt yourself, you are actually doubting the infinite power that beats your heart and grows your fingernails. Let me share with you the secret of sustained transformation. You must learn to live from your desired state now. Not tomorrow, not when conditions improve, but now. This very moment. Most of you are waiting for something external to change before you change your concept of self. But I tell you this, nothing external can change until you change your concept of self. Consider carefully what I am telling you. Your concept of self is your destiny. Whatever you believe yourself to be, you will become. This is not philosophy, this is law. You see, when you go after what you want while maintaining a consciousness of doubt, you are working against yourself. It's like driving with one foot on the accelerator and one on the brake. Let me tell you about the power of assumption. When you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you are actually experiencing your desire in the only place it can first exist, in consciousness. Most of you think your desires are out there somewhere, waiting to be achieved. But I tell you this, your desires exist now in consciousness, waiting to be assumed into reality. You see, every desire you have is actually God's desire to express more of himself through you. Therefore, when you doubt your ability to achieve your desire, you are doubting God himself. Consider this. The oak tree exists in the acorn long before it becomes visible to human eyes. Similarly, your desired reality exists in consciousness before it becomes visible in your world. Let me share with you a profound truth about consciousness that few understand. When you say, I can't or it's too difficult, you are not describing reality. You are creating it. Your words are decrees that must manifest by law. You see, the universe knows no difference between what you call possible and impossible. It only knows what you decree through your conscious assumptions. When you assume I can't, you are using the same creative power as when you assume I can. Consider this. Every time you entertain a doubt, you are actually praying for what you do not want. For prayer is not begging an external God, but feeling and assuming the reality of what you desire. Most of you have turned your creative power against yourselves through doubt and self-limitation. You say, I'm trying. But in consciousness, there is no trying. Let me tell you about the true nature of creation. Creation is finished. All possible states exist now. Your task is not to create what you want, but to select and occupy the state that contains your desire. You see, when you go after what you want with doubt in your heart, you are attempting to enter two states at once, the state of having and the state of lacking. This is impossible. Consider carefully what I'm saying. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot dwell in the state of doubt and the state of fulfillment simultaneously. You must choose. Most of you think you must first see evidence before you can believe. But I tell you this, what you see is the result of what you have been believing. To change what you see, you must change what you believe. Let me share with you the secret of effective action. All action must proceed from the right state of consciousness. Action without the correct state is futile. You see, when you take action from a state of doubt, you are actually reinforcing the very state you wish to leave. Your actions are merely expressing your current state of consciousness. Consider this. Everything in your world is yourself pushed out. Your doubt, your fear, your limitation, all are states you have occupied and are now seeing reflected back to you. Most of you are trying to change your world while maintaining the same conception of self. This is like trying to project a different image while using the same slide in the projector. Let me tell you about the law of consciousness. Whatever you are conscious of being, you will become. This is why entertaining doubts is such a serious matter. You are literally becoming your doubts. You see, your consciousness is God's gift to you. It is the creative power through which you shape your entire existence. When you doubt, you are misusing this divine gift. Consider this profound truth. In consciousness, there is no process. Things do not gradually become. They are. When you truly assume a state, you are in that state, and everything that belongs to that state must follow. You see, most of you believe in time as a creative force. But I tell you this, time is merely a device for postponing what exists now in consciousness. Your assumption, if sustained, is far more powerful than time. Let me tell you about the true nature of desire. The very presence of a desire is proof of its fulfillment. For how could you desire something if it did not already exist in consciousness? Most of you treat your desires as something to be achieved through struggle and effort. But I tell you this, your desire is actually God's remembrance of what you already are in the eternal now. Consider carefully what I'm saying. When you doubt your ability to achieve something, you are actually doubting the wisdom that gave you the desire in the first place. Can you see the contradiction? You see, every doubt you entertain is a denial of your own divine nature. He's saying to God, I do not believe in your power expressing through me. This is the true meaning of sin. Let me share with you the secret of effortless achievement. When you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you align yourself with the power that created the universe. All things then work together for the externalization of your assumption. Most of you believe you must battle against circumstances to achieve your desires. But I tell you this, your circumstances are nothing but the shadow of your consciousness. Change your consciousness and circumstances must change. Consider this, every great achievement began with someone daring to assume a state that contradicted current circumstances. They understood that circumstances bow to consciousness. You see, when you go after what you want while maintaining consciousness of doubt, you are working against universal law. For the law states that consciousness is the only reality. Let me tell you about the power of persistence in assumption. It is not enough to assume your desire for a moment. You must persist until your assumption hardens into fact. Most of you abandon your assumption at the first sign of contradiction. But I tell you this, the very presence of contradiction is proof that your new assumption is taking root. Consider carefully. When you plant a seed in the ground, the first response of the soil is to show you more dirt. Would you then dig up the seed and declare it a failure? You see, the same law operates in consciousness. When you plant the seed of a new assumption, the first response of your world may be to show you evidence of the old state. This is law. Let me tell you the ultimate truth about manifestation. Your world is nothing more than your consciousness objectified. Therefore, the only place where true change can occur is in consciousness. Consider this final wisdom. You never attract what you want. You attract what you are. When you understand this, you will cease trying to change things in the outer world and focus all your attention on changing your state of consciousness. You see, your consciousness is like a radio broadcasting station. Whatever frequency you broadcast through your assumptions, the universe must return to you in physical form. This is immutable law. Most of you spend your lives trying to change the pictures on the screen while ignoring the projector. But I'll tell you this. Change a slide in the projector of consciousness, and the pictures must change. Let me share with you this ultimate secret of achievement. Success is not something you pursue. It is something you attract by the person you become in consciousness. When you cease doubting and assume the consciousness of already being what you desire to be, your world must reshape itself accordingly. You see, every moment of your life, you are choosing a state of consciousness to occupy. Choose wisely, for your entire world springs from this choice. Consider this final truth. You are not a mere human being seeking a spiritual experience. You are a spiritual being having a human experience. When you truly grasp this, all doubt must vanish. Tonight, I urge you to make this supreme decision. Decide what you want to be and assume that you are it now. Not tomorrow, not next week, but now. For now is the only time there is. Remember this, what? The feeling of the wish fulfilled is the secret of creation. Whatever you desire, assume the feeling that would be yours if you already had it. You see, doubt is nothing but sleeping in the state of limitation. Wake up. Assume your desired state now. Feel its reality. Live from it. Breathe it for what you feel you create. Let this be your sacred moment of decision. Choose now to stop doubting yourself. Choose to assume the state of consciousness that implies your wish is fulfilled. Choose to live as though your prayers are already answered. For I tell you this with absolute certainty. The world has no choice but to mirror back to you what you decree in consciousness. This is not theory. This is not philosophy. This is law. Remember, you are the operant power in your world. No one else can assume your desired state for you. No one else can live in the end for you. This is your grand opportunity, your divine responsibility. Therefore, go forth now in this knowledge. Let every doubt fall away like autumn leaves. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Live from that assumption. For in this lies the secret of all creation. For when you cease doubting and start living from the end, when you persist in your assumption despite all evidence to the contrary, when you remain faithful to your chosen state, then, and only then, will you experience the truth that all things are possible to him who believes. This is the law. This is the promise. This is the way. And now, having shared these eternal truths with you, I leave you with this final thought. The life you dream of is not waiting for you in some distant future. It exists now in consciousness, waiting for you to assume it into expression. The choice is yours. The time is now. The power is within you. Thank you